Here is a 10-day Banff Jasper itinerary to skip the worst crowds with a map that you can copy. Day number 4 is the actual trap. Moraine Lake. It isn't just a show up and parking spot, no, it is a booking problem. We use smart bases, Icefields Parkway stops, quiet Jasper Lake days, starting in Canmore.
So the first section of this 10-day itinerary is the Banff base. We arrive at Calgary Airport probably, grab the rental car, and then we drive 1.5 hours to 2 hours west to Canmore. And while you're driving there, you literally see the landscape changing from prairies to the Rockies. It is a beautiful change, and it's kind of the Rockies explode into view. Great thing about Canmore is it is close to Banff, but most often more affordable to Banff for families, less crowded and chaotic in that sense, and often it offers more value for families, but people in general alike. Especially if you're looking out, as I do, for less crowded places, but still want to see these iconic spots in Canada. And the first thing we're gonna do, we settle in, do the groceries, and maybe take an easy evening walk. On the side you see my screen where I have the map available. You see Calgary to Canmore, and here it is built in the day, Calgary, Canmore, with the information I just gave you. On the second day, we just start off big. We do the classic Banff stuff, let's say, in a way. But we do a smarter move than others would do. We go to the Banff gondola, but do it early in the morning before the lines grow big. This way we could enjoy the top of Banff from a beautiful point of view spot while everyone is still at the parking lot or is coming to arrive there, and you have it more for yourself. One thing though I would like to mention here, if you visit the Banff gondola, it is a bit expensive. The bit cheaper option but equally beautiful would be Mount Norquay, that is also close by. And then what we're gonna do is, that's a swap I recommend to do. Instead of seeing Lake Minnewanka, visit Bow Lake. It's, as you see here on the map, a bit longer drive away from Banff and Canmore, but you get rewarded with these big alpine lake views, massive mountains, and this is your wow stop for the day, perfect for any iconic and epic photo shoot that you can do on this travel. And from what I've heard, it is often less crowded and less rushed than other areas in Banff. And then, as you see on the itinerary down here, we finish off the day at Vermilion Lakes, trying to catch this sunset that gives another beautiful photo shoot moment, perfect with your families and also to cool out the day. And probably kind of feels unreal if you see on these pictures. And wildlife is there too, so another go-to spot and another plus for this area. So now we're coming to day 3 and the section that it gets closer to the famous area of the Banff National Park. We drive over from Canmore to Lake Louise and the Moraine Lake area. Little side tip here, if you want, you could still stay in the Canmore area. That's still doable if you think that is budget-wise the better option for you. But now it is time to fit your timing. We're gonna drive through the Bow Valley Parkway. It's in this area, it's slower, scenic, and a legit wildlife corridor. So if you're looking for wildlife, that would be one of the parts you would go to. That is also in Google My Maps, where you can steal my map right away, is also mentioned and marked so that you would find it easily. And after all this adventure in the morning, we try to hit Johnson Canyon in the late afternoon. Why late afternoon? From the information I've read, the best timing is actually late afternoon. Many people experience less people in the area, still parking spots available, and you have it for more for yourself. So that's actually a secret tip you can take with you. And it's also nicer to have all the tracks spots for yourself and always a bit calmer. And if you still have and feel the energy on day 3 in Johnson Canyon, you could visit the upper falls or the lower falls if you can make it. And in case Johnson Canyon still feels chaotic or too much visitors there, you could still use the alternative, the Mistaya Canyon, later on the parkway. And now we get to the heart of this trip, the heart of the Rockies and the famous photo spots that everybody has seen. We go to Moraine Lake and Lake Louise on day 4, and now we're gonna tackle the biggest logistic challenge here. These places are crowded, and there are ways that you can avoid these crowds. For one, you have to arrive there before 10 a.m. in the morning. And one other thing is, to get there, you need to book shuttle buses or shuttle services that are allowed to bring you to these places. Because during peak season, you can't just drive to these lakes. It is forbidden as a visitor and tourist to do so. And even if you try, access is controlled, so don't mind trying it out. My strategy, like I said, arrive early, and the earlier is even better. Some even recommend to experience sunrise at these spots. Might be a bit tricky depending on the age of your kids. But let's get to the strategy. We'll do Moraine Lake first. Rock pile, a viewpoint is a must. Let's see if I have it or if it's here in the picture somewhere. No, but you'll find it if you look for it. Then keep it simple and take the shuttle to Lake Louise, stroll along the shoreline, and if your family isn't begging you to do so, skip the hike in this part, but you could still do it at the Jasper Lake Louise area to stroll up to one of the lodges. So that is the plan for the morning. In the afternoon instead, we do the hidden gem equalizer. They're also well known, but often less people are in the area or getting there. One is the Emerald Lake in the Yoho National Park. You see there, when you look at the map, from Lake Louise Moraine Lake, you drive over to Yoho National Park. Keep in mind, when you cross the border to the Yoho National Park, this is in British Columbia, and you're gonna gain 1 hour. So it is important that when you drive back, you lose an hour to Alberta. Just that I've said it. But there are beautiful things to do that are awesome. You're gonna see the lodge at the Emerald Lake, maybe make a stop there and even have some snacks. Visit the natural bridge. Where is it? Over here. No good pictures right here, but awesome spot. I've been there also a few times. And then of course, visit the Takawa Falls, which plunge an impressive 254 meters into the deep. And again, great way to end the day full of adventures. And then you drive back to Canmore if you wanted to stay in Canmore and used it as a base. But sometimes having a base for 3-4 days at the same spot, even you have to drive a bit longer sometimes, is a great way. We do that next year in Canada during our 2 months trip, and if you want to know more about it, just click above to get more information about it. Let's move on to the third section of our video of our 10-day itinerary, and this is the legendary drive through the Icefields Parkway all the way to Jasper. And just to steer the expectations in the right way, the Icefields Parkway isn't just a highway that you drive through. You need to plan enough time for all the beautiful viewpoints to stop there, take your pictures, and take a breath, whatever. Just to make sure that you plan that in on your trip. The road might take you, about 3 hours to get from Banff to Jasper? Yeah, I think it's about 3 hours. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, but it might take you the whole day to get there, to get to Jasper because of all these stops. And what we're gonna do, and that's the very important thing, or most important thing before you start on the highway, is to fill up your gas, because there is no gas station for around 250 kilometers. So until you arrive in Jasper, there won't be any stops for you to fill up your gas tank. As you see, it's quite the drive going up here. So what we're gonna do is, the stops that we will be stopping today are the Peyto Lake viewpoint. If you want to see the Peyto Lake, and it might be a bit crowded, you could always consider to walk down to the shoreline down here. Also a great option, only a few people do that. Then of course the waterfall lakes. This is your calm pull-out, an easy pull-out for these iconic epic pictures on this road trip to Jasper. Then the quick hits that you need to consider are the Weeping Wall viewpoint and the Big Bend viewpoint. Let me check. Yeah, Big Bend viewpoint. I'll have it here as well. When the stops over here are also mentioned. So I'll share that as well, as I mentioned. And then, of course, the must stop on the trip is at the Columbia Icefield, and that's also where you can save a lot of money when you're stopping there. The reason is simple. When you book some tours, they're quite expensive. You can combine that with the boardwalk somewhere down the road, and they're super expensive. You can save several $100 not to book these tours. Instead, do your hikes by yourself, or above the restaurant, above the parking spot, walk up to one of the viewing points up the hill, and you still get this powerful experience to see the glacier and experience it in your own way without spending this much money. So real tip here, do that instead of booking them or get distracted to book one of these tours. Although it looks cool with all these cars and buses, I wouldn't recommend doing it in my point of view. Anyhow, when we move on and drive towards Jasper, on the way, see the Athabasca Falls, also an easy way to get there. Drive out, walk a bit, and you get to the falls. They're impressive and beautiful, and as well the Sunwapta Falls when you're on your way. And that concludes our day. Make sure to grab something nice to eat in Jasper and let the day fade out in the evening in Jasper. And with that, we move on to day number 6. So, and this is the section number 4, the wilds of Jasper. Jasper often feels quieter than Banff. It is less crowded, a bit more wild. It doesn't have this romantic city village feeling. And when you're there, it's all a bit more laid down, more easier and chill. And you have more of these local stores, not of these fancy brands on a avenue where you find all this cool stuff. No, it's a bit more laid down, local products, which makes it a quaint little town. And from my point of view, a great spot to take a breather and just take in this mountain air, this alpine air. Important note, trail access can change, so always check Parks Canada updates before you hike a plan. And as there was a huge wildfire in Jasper, you might need to check which areas are accessible or not. Just a little side note. And what we're gonna do on day number 6, we drive the the Malinia Valley Road towards Malinia Lake. It's also one of the wildlife corridors in Jasper. You won't always see animals, but there is a huge or great chance to see some wildlife along the way. And when you're at Malinia Lake, there are several things that you can do. Is to take a Malinia Lake cruise with these boats over here. It is an awesome experience, believe me. Also to visit Spirit Island, but it's expensive. You could also book boat at the rental stations, kayak and canoes, but in my experience they're rather expensive. So if you have to be careful with your budget, you might consider just taking a hike along the shoreline. It's still going to be beautiful and epic nonetheless. And maybe then instead take a hot chocolate or coffee at the restaurant that is just right next to the lake, which is equally. If you want to experience the whole area more, is also you can visit Medicine Lake down the road, or take a stroll through the Melania Canyon, which can be quite cool for your children as well. And each single time I've been there was an experience on its own. And if you look for something that is also, or gives you a similar lake feeling, or you want to rent a canoe or kayak, you might consider Lake Annette and Lake Edith instead of Melania Canyon, just as an option B in case you think, I don't want to be with all the crowds there. That might be a good idea. One important note before I forget it, it is worthwhile to be early at the Melania Lake, as you can get crowded as well. And although the parking spots might be very filled, I must admit it wasn't never the same as Lake Louise or Moraine Lake. So the people distribute themselves very well, so it's not that overrun, which is great, to be honest. And in case you want to book a Melania Lake cruise, do that online and the day before. And then on day 7, we move just right on. This is our Jasper recharge day, our quiet lake days in Jasper. And what we're gonna do is, and that's actually great, we're gonna visit all these lakes today. We go to Pyramid Lake and visit the Pyramid Island as well. And we actually have fond memories of this area. When we were the first time there, our oldest daughter was just 2.5 years old, and she played, I think, 10 or 15 minutes in the lake. And we filmed the whole adventure because we knew at some point she's going to fall into the water, and this is actually what happened. It wasn't so cool for her because the water is cold, the air was fresh either, so it was a bit of a stress at that moment, but it was a lot of fun. And believe me, the area is beautiful, and there are spots where you can rent kayaks and canoes and stuff, so perfect spot to do so. It's not far off Jasper, as you see. I think it's half an hour or something like that. On the way to it, we saw grizzly bear, for example, wildlife close to Jasper, and the alternatives would be in this beautiful valley, Lake Edith or Annette. And when you drive out of Jasper right here, you see this scenic, iconic view of the river flows and the mountainscapes. You need to get out there and make a picture. It's worthwhile. So, and then we have a flex day in Jasper, and that is on purpose. So this is a buffer day in a way. If you say, after all this adventure, I just want to relax and just cool down, just take it easy, you can do so. And a few things that you can consider doing still would be, you spend the day in Jasper in the village and stroll through the different stores and maybe museums and galleries, whatever. Just enjoy the village a bit, or get to know a bit more of the history of Jasper. Then another option would be to book a horseback riding in the area, or a bicycle, maybe bicycle day, rent a bicycle with your children and drive around and explore the area. So depends a bit also on the weather. I mean, there might be cases where it might rain, and then certain areas on this trip might not be as nice as you would hope for. So you have a flex day in case there is a rainy day. And that brings us already to the journey back home, the 5th section of this video. And this is the day when we drive back towards home, or in that case towards Edmonton. And we're gonna make a stop on our way. As it is a longer drive, it's around 4 hours drive if you drive directly to Edmonton. But the first stop will be in Hinton, a little picnic stop or food stop, I don't know. But you have to go to the Beaver Boardwalk. I haven't done it so yet, but I've looked when I built the itinerary, I was looking for something you can do along the way. That might be a cool thing. And then what we usually do is to stop in Edson. Where is it? Here in Edson for a little stop to eat something in between. It's right in the middle, and you can fill up also your coffee mug if you need so to drive back all the way to Edmonton, check in our hotel, and then on the last day of our trip, depending if you fly back on this day or the day after, we still might have some chance to explore the city a bit, the city parks. There are quite a lot of things to do in the city. That's also why we booked 5 days in Edmonton next year on 2-1 trip. Check. If I haven't mentioned it before, check the video above or the playlist above to get more information about it. As Edmonton has so much to offer, it's worth a stop and sometimes even a bit underrated if you're speaking of hidden gems and lesser known places, right? And that's it. That's my complete 10-day itinerary to Banff and Jasper, including the iconic spots, but also lesser known stuff to do. I built it like a digital scout with smart bases, controlled timing, and also swapped in some quieter options. As I've mentioned, if you want, you can package this thing totally into your own. Go to my trip, look for the link below in the description where you can grab my trip, and then I can show you that just in a second. Trips, you can take this trip as a basis, and then you can create your own version of it that looks something like this. That when you click on itinerary, that gives you also the itinerary with all the options. And let me see, yeah, it gives you all the information you want or that you have added. And you could also find the link to my Google My Maps itinerary with all the options, with stops, places to stay, that you have the bases like here in Canmore, photo stops where you can do stuff, adventures and things. You find that also in the description below. And if this has saved you hours of doing research and gave you a good starting point, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button and maybe a like, please, maybe. No, but what I want to tell you, steal the plan and start planning today. If you need more ideas, check out my itinerary list that is right afterwards for more ideas and insights. Goodbye.